MAGA influencer Megyn Kelly. She, if you haven't been keeping up with her development, is sort of all the way back. I think she, after the horrific Trump post-debate garbage that he espoused about her, I think she moderated a little bit. Did she? I don't know. And now all I can tell you for sure is now she's back in the MAGA camp and is voting for Trump, supporting him in this election. And she appeared on Bill Maher's show. I want to play this for you. It's on a topic that you've heard me go over a bunch of times. But what I want to use it as is a transition into a really interesting series of unfortunate and harmful things that Republicans are doing in the lead up to this election. That while our movement respects democracy enough to not cry that the election's going to be stolen or to make these big proclamations that eat away at the perceived legitimacy of our democracy, I can tell you for certain, that's how I want to discuss this, that the series of things we're going to go through, if Democrats had done them or were doing, would become justification for 10x the election denialism from Republicans, emphasizing the wild contrast in Democratic principles or lack thereof between the two movements. And I did say quickly, just for those who already saw the segment or watching the full show, that we'd go over this in a bonus show. We're actually gonna go over here, for everyone. But first, here is Bill Maher and Megyn Kelly. Please do remember as you're watching this to click the subscribe button as we're trying before the election to hit the big milestone, because of all of you, 1 million subscribers.
Okay. But you know this. I mean, you've even said it, that if Trump wins, there will definitely be denialism. I mean, he's only going to say one of two things about...
If he loses.
If he loses.
Yeah.
There's only... He'll either say it was rigged or it was the most perfect, beautiful election ever.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. You're admitting that.
Yeah.
And yet you're going to vote for him.
Yeah.
We want to know why.
Well, don't think there won't be denialism if Kamala Harris loses, too.
It won't be the same.
Okay, but there's going to be. I mean, they're already laying the foundation for lawfare. We're going to be stuck in this election one way or the other, no matter who wins, for weeks.
Well, there's no evidence of that. Democrats have never done that. They've conceded.
We already had this fight on my show. Hillary Clinton is the original election denier. Stacey Abrams. Yes, she is.
It's different. Come on, man. It's different between grumbling. Yes, they grumble and they shouldn't, and maybe it goes over the... It's different between grumbling about something and actually trying to overturn it like he did. I mean, you know this. Why do we have to go through this?
That's fine. You're allowed to file legal challenges in response to an election, which is what Trump did, and he lost, and he did wind up leaving office. I'm not going to defend his behavior on January 6th. I never have, and I'm not going to start tonight. But if you don't think there's going to be denialism on the Dem side, you haven't been paying attention to what's been happening on that side for these years. Look, you want to know why I'm going to vote for him.
And then she gets into undocumented immigration, points we've heard and addressed many, many times. But there, you've heard that many times, right? Oh, it's Hillary Clinton who's the real election denier. Which, by the way, some of them say that was so terrible of Hillary Clinton when she, for example, way after the election, after conceding, called Trump an illegitimate president. The scale, magnitude, effect, just them even ever being put in the same sentence is ridiculous, comparing the two, for the reasons that you're about to listen to. But also, you saying that's bad of her means you have to then say it's bad about Trump, but 10x. Here's what I mean. Because you've heard me in front of this background make this point a gazillion times, I'll put a little different scenery to me making the point, this time during episode 1 of Mochas with MAGA, talking to a Trump supporter.
Should we arrest and throw Hillary Clinton in jail for challenging her election, or should we take,
I'm so happy you asked that.
Should we take
I thought
Al
you were a
Gore?
smart guy, and
Should
then you're letting me
Al
down
Gore?
here. How could you possibly compare what Hillary did and what Trump did when Hillary
They called in question a national election.
Right. Which I think in situations she acted inappropriately. What did she do? Her freedom of speech. What did Trump do?
Should she be arrested?
Coordinated conspiracy to overthrow the election. She didn't try to do that. Did she try to work with Obama to put her into power as president? No.
Did she?
He immediately brought Obama, that is, Trump, to the White House and said, this is our next president, and hoorah. And she called to concede to him, and she delivered a concession speech the next day. How could you, number one, compare that to the speech? And Trump's not even being prosecuted for his speech. He's being prosecuted for the actions he justified with his speech.
So we now are against free speech, and we want our government.
Were you listening to me?
Yeah.
I just said it explicitly.
No, I heard
not
what you
freedom
said.
of speech.
I know, but one gets to the other. My dollar represents my voice.
So you brought up Hillary. Mm-hmm. Tell me.
There's like 7 others you could bring up on a national
where,
level.
or Stacey Abrams or anyone.
That's a great point.
I know. Always. I know where you're going.
Person of color. Are you being discriminatory?
So you're so strange. Where did Stacey Abrams, Hillary Clinton, or anyone else you would bring up try to block the certification of their election, or put together a fraudulent slate of electors to assert themselves to be the victor, or this doesn't apply to Stacey Abrams, but with the national elections, try to get the vice president to block the certification and then send it back to the states?
Well, neither one of us are lawyers.
And the overwhelming majority of constitutional experts says that was not constitutional.
And if you look at what's taking place, the real question is, how did they violate the Constitution?
Okay. So, it's so upsetting to watch because it's like I'm talking to a wall. He's not at all hearing what I'm saying. I forgot about that. This was a long time ago. Crazy stuff. You can find that in the Mochas with MAGA playlist on the channel if you want to go back and watch some of those. But there, it then just goes back to how. But what I really want to figure out is how they stole the election. No, but they didn't. Okay. Oh gosh, and we're all the way back around. But of course, the difference is forever, since the beginning of time, since the beginning of elections at least, people have complained and grumbled, as Bill Maher said, and no, this is not fair. And that's one thing. And given what we've seen MAGA do with those lies, what they've tried to justify with those lies, we now have to be extra mindful of what we say. Before, it wasn't that harmful because people would say it, but there was a basic dedication and understanding that, of course, Trump's the legitimate president. There's not going to be any effort, and there wasn't, to prevent him from coming into office lawfully, and people aren't going to break the law like Trump and his allies did to try to keep the next person from coming into office. And so there was a whole different world there. Now we've seen, oh my gosh, MAGA will try to literally assemble fraudulent electors and then pressure the vice president to say those were the real ones so that unconstitutionally, unlawfully, Trump could go, I'm staying in power, martial law or something. Marshall spelled like the name for many Republicans when they would text that. It's just, to me, that's honestly a good question to see if someone's intellectually capable or intellectually honest enough to engage with political discussions. Because if you pretend like those are the same, okay, I get it. You either aren't honest enough or aren't able to critically think enough to see how those are so wildly different. Now, what do I want to do? What I want to do is go through a list of things, not all the things, but a list of events and individual actions that, if they had been taken by Democrats against Trump instead of Republicans against Kamala Harris, would serve as the justification for the MAGA movement to claim the 2024 election was being rigged. But I say all of this in front of the backdrop of a belief that we aren't going to, if Trump were to win, deny the election results. We do respect our democracy enough to respect him as the victor if he wins lawfully. And that's something MAGA is not able to do, even when they don't have what we have here. The Washington Post reports Elon Musk's secret conversations with Vladimir Putin. A lot of reporting lately about this and some questionable conversations going on there. Added to it, media reporting the Justice Department last month alleged in an affidavit that a Russian official, I should say, that has been communicating with Elon Musk is responsible for spreading Russian disinformation online via 30 internet domains that he created. The DOJ revealed he created some of these accounts on Musk's X to manipulate American support for Ukraine ahead of the November. You then have The Hill reporting that the Trump campaign and Musk coordinated to stop or censor hacked material on X, so that J.D. Vance dossier, Musk and the Trump campaign worked together to get it off of the platform. CNN reports Elon Musk's daily $1 million giveaway to registered voters could be illegal. This is an effort to help Trump's election. You also had this bombshell report from Rolling Stone saying these swing state election officials are pro-Trump election deniers, and that will come into play in future headlines that I have for you, including this one from The Guardian. A different level than 2020. Trump's plan to steal election is taking shape. A part of that plan is they've been working since the 2020 election to get in election official positions pro-Trump folks who will think it justified to do anything possible to declare Trump the winner, to impede Harris's certification if she wins, because of their buy-in to election denialism and buy-in to the idea that Democrats can't win in a fair system. You have this headline from NBC: Russia's 2024 election interference has already begun. Many of the election interference operations that we've seen many times. The Washington Post reports what Trump promised oil CEOs as he asked them to steer $1 billion to his campaign. He set up a quid pro quo saying, give me $1 billion, oil executives, and I will do your bidding in office, or I'll do a bunch of things that could help your business. Then NPR reports ex-FBI source charged with Biden lies is tied to Russian intelligence, prosecutors say. This, of course, being Alexander Smirnov and his ties to Russian interference as he was fabricating things to try to bolster the Republican allegations that Biden is corrupt when he's, of course, not. Before going further, imagine if all of that happened. Imagine if a pro-Kamala billionaire was having conversations with a foreign government leader and foreign governmental officials as there are as that foreign government is facilitating interference operations on the platform the billionaire owns to help the other candidate, or to help Kamala. This is hard to flip it around like that, actually. And then imagine if that pro-Kamala billionaire coordinated to censor anti-Kamala material, then gave away $1 million potentially illegally to build a database of voters that the Trump campaign could target, or that pro-Trump people could target, then installed pro-Kamala election officials, some who so clearly are overtly putting Trump above our constitutional process. Then reporting came out about an extensive plan for Kamala to steal the election. Very detailed. Then that foreign government, as previously mentioned, is again, as they did before, trying to interfere on behalf of Kamala. Then Kamala was caught doing a quid pro quo for money with other rich people. Then the same foreign government from before was fabricating fake things about Trump directly to the FBI to justify a Democratic investigation. And then other rich billionaires started putting their finger on the scale to get media outlets to not endorse Trump. Imagine if that happened, because really that's happening with Kamala.
Leading up to the rally, what we saw, in fact, was the CEOs have warmed up to Trump. A major publisher of a newspaper, Washington Post, Jeff Bezos, pulled the endorsement. The people who are the guardrails, or would have been the guardrails in past runs, are not there right now. And I think for Harris, on Tuesday night, that is a point she can make, which is, look, we are the guardrails. This is it. And Trump is talking about enemies within. He's talking about using the military against American citizens. If we vote for this, he will have the license to do it because he ran on it and we voted for it. That's his mandate. And if she can make that case tomorrow night, I think that might be effective.
Well, and again, the anticipatory kowtowing to a guy who's saying he's going to be an autocrat is the first step.
As Washington Post.
As Tim Snyder said, but you've got billionaires running the Washington Post, billionaires running the LA Times, billionaires running X, who are all in this sort of preemptory bowing to Donald Trump. I've got to say, this is just me. You could be upset about that, but if I'm running against that guy and those three billionaires, woo, it's going to be a fun final 9 days, because it's the billionaires versus us.
imagine if I guess it's more just if billionaires were saying to the media outlets they own, don't endorse Trump. MAGA would go nuts. See, this is the deep state. They're probably on Epstein's list. But that's happening with the Washington Post editorial board and the LA Times, them saying, stay out of it. Don't do what you normally do, which is an endorsement. And again, going back to, do you remember when they told us that because for a moment, within the day, Twitter unbanned the New York Post story, and because it had temporarily gotten banned, it got way more attention than it ever would have right before the election, probably hurting Biden more than it would have if it weren't temporarily banned. But they say that because an outlet reasonably believed that this could be disinformation, they temporarily blocked it, got more information, unblocked it, the New York Post Hunter Biden story. Then we learned that parts of the broader narrative were connected to Russian intelligence, but some of it was verifiable, and it verifiably didn't prove anything corrupt about President Joe Biden. They said that's proof that Trump should have been inaugurated instead of Biden. But now there was no overt, we're doing this for Biden. Now you have Elon Musk who bought that platform. You remember the Twitter files? That was supposed to justify any election denialism. Now a billionaire bought the platform that was the source of all that controversy and is overtly spending millions of dollars and using the X platform to help Trump. And we're not going to claim it was stolen if Kamala loses. You see, we will point out where things were ridiculous, maybe even unfair, if indeed that result happens, as I'm doing for you right now. Do you see, though, what dedication to our democracy looks like? You had none of this, and you still claimed it was stolen. You had none of it. There was a years-long disinformation operation against President Joe Biden to make him seem corrupt when he's not. And now you have numerous billionaires overtly helping Trump by censoring their media platforms. It's stunning, the movement that you become MAGA. That we would be on the other side seeing all this happen. Much of it's justified because you lied to yourself and said the last election was stolen. That's why you think it's justified to do all this stuff. And still, unless we get, something, very much unlike the last election, if we got some crazy information, as is always something that could happen, about the actual voting process. If it is something that proceeds lawfully like the last one, then we're going to respect it with all of this. And it's sickening. It's nauseating to realize that we're playing two different games altogether. That we're politically battling on such an uneven playing field. And that you care so little about having basic principles, you're willing to sacrifice the system for power. And considering that is one of the things that makes it the most difficult. It's to sit down at this desk every day. But all of you make it much better if you do want to become an extra special member of the Beasley Brigade. Then you can by clicking the join button below. If you're thinking you don't want any subscription type stuff going on, you just want the free, simple thing. This is a funny thing after I just used that particular term because it is subscribe, but it's not a paid subscription. Then you can still be a part of the Beasley Brigade by clicking the subscribe button.